August 1st, 1976. The Nürburgring, a terrifying 14-mile monster known simply as the Green Hell. On lap 2, Niki Lauda's Ferrari snapped sideways at 140 miles per hour, slamming into the embankment and bursting into a roaring fireball. Trapped inside a cockpit reaching over 800 degrees Celsius, Lauda inhales toxic smoke and burning gases as fire consumes his face and head. By the time fellow drivers pull his limp body from the wreckage, his lungs are scorched, his scalp is burned away, and his blood is poisoned. In the hospital, a priest administers the last rites. The world prepares to say goodbye to the reigning Formula One world champion. Except Niki Lauda didn't die. 42 days later, with bloody bandages still taped to his head, he strapped himself back into a Ferrari at Monza. This is not just a story about racing. This is the story of the most relentless, unbreakable man to ever drive a car. To understand Niki Lauda's insane determination, you have to understand where he came from. Born into a wealthy Austrian banking dynasty, Niki was expected to follow the family path into business. But he had only one obsession: speed. When his family blocked his efforts to get racing sponsorships, Lauda did something unheard of. He took out a massive bank loan, buying his way into Formula 2 and eventually Formula 1 with the March team. He was drowning in debt, risking financial ruin, and wagering his entire future on his ability to drive fast. Lauda wasn't just a driver, he was an engineer in the cockpit. While other drivers relied on pure instinct, Lauda treated racing like a cold, mathematical science. He spent endless hours in the garage with mechanics, tweaking setup, calculating tire degradation, and stripping away unnecessary weight. His clinical, no-nonsense approach caught the eye of Enzo Ferrari himself. In 1974, Lauda signed with Scuderia Ferrari. By 1975, his relentless precision paid off. He became the world champion. The 1976 season was setting up to be legendary. Lauda was at the peak of his powers, locked in a fierce, iconic duel with his charismatic English rival, James Hunt. Hunt was wild, emotional, and lived on the edge. Lauda was icy, calculated and focused on pure efficiency. Heading into round 10 at the Nürburgring, Lauda was leading the championship. But he knew the track was dangerously unsafe for modern F1 cars. He even called a meeting to boycott the race, arguing that if something went wrong, emergency crews could never reach a crash in time. He was outvoted. The race went ahead. And then the nightmare happened. The rear suspension broke, the crash, the inferno. For nearly a minute, Lauda sat trapped in the flames. His lungs were so badly damaged that doctors used vacuum tubes to clear the toxic ash from his throat. A procedure so painful, Lauda had to fight to stay conscious just to keep breathing. When asked later how he survived, Lauda gave a classic matter-of-fact answer. "I told myself, if they want to give me last rites, fine, but I'm not dying." Just 6 weeks after hovering between life and death, skipping only 2 races, Niki Lauda walked into the paddock at Monza. His face was severely disfigured. Blood soaked through his balaclava as he pulled his helmet on over raw, unhealed skin. In his first practice session, he was paralyzed by fear. But he forced himself back out onto the track, confronting his panic lap after lap. In front of an astonished Italian crowd, Lauda didn't just finish the race, he finished 4th. It remains one of the greatest comebacks in sports history. The season finale at Fuji, Japan, came down to the wire. Monsoon rains flooded the circuit, making visibility almost zero. Drivers couldn't see 10 feet ahead. After just 2 laps, Lauda pulled into the pits and stepped out of his car. To Lauda, racing was about calculated risk, not suicide. He famously said, "My life is worth more than a title." Hunt went on to win the championship by a single point, but Lauda walked away with something far more important: his integrity. Lauda won his second world championship in 1977 with Ferrari, but by 1979 he was burnt out. He abruptly walked away from F1, saying he was tired of driving around in circles, and turned his attention to running his own airline, Lauda Air. But racing was in his blood. In 1982, McLaren lured him back with a staggering contract. In 1984, facing off against his brilliant, much younger teammate Alain Prost, Lauda proved that brain beats speed. He relied on racecraft, tyre management, and set up brilliance to win his third world championship. By just half a point, the closest margin in F1 history. Decades later, as non-executive chairman at Mercedes, Lauda was the mastermind who convinced Lewis Hamilton to join the team, setting up one of the most dominant dynasties in motorsport history. Until his passing in 2019, Lauda wore a simple red baseball cap to cover his burn scars, a badge of honor for a man who refused to hide his reality. When asked later how he survived, Lauda gave a classic matter-of-fact answer: "I told myself, if they want to give me last rites, fine, but I'm not dying." Just 6 weeks after he famously said, "My life is worth more than a title."